Let me check on the Facebook ones. Ma'am, have you asked them to share it on your page, Rotary ka page?
Yes.
Wait, because they have not shared yet. All
You
right.
have Satyan's number. Would you like to ask? Yeah, he's just there's some. Satyan has just shared something on. I don't know what is this. Yeah, it's already there. It started.
Great. So can I start, ma'am?
Yes, please.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Kalpana Chowdhary, founder of Social Table, managing trustee and chairperson of Jan Seva Foundation, Being the Change, and Lagnn.com. Lagnn.com is a matrimony portal for differently able and acid attack survivors. Also an active member of FICCI Flow, CII, IW, and Maharashtra Women Economic Forum, and a TEDx speaker. Before diving into the guest introduction, I would like to take a moment to introduce you with Social Tables. Social Tables is committed to sustainable development program with societal well-being and environmental consciousness. Every week, we bring out to you some of the brightest minds from the diverse to discuss over a few significant ongoing issues. In this speaker series, we have our guest, Ms. Preeti Mehta. Ms. Mehta, who is a partner of Kanga & Co., a leading firm of advocates and solicitors in Bombay, established in 1890 and having a vast clientele. Ms. Mehta qualified as a solicitor both from Bombay and England. She has been practicing for over 30 years and has vast experience in matters relating to joint venture, including foreign investment and collaboration, mergers and acquisition, and private equity investment in various sectors, including manufacturing service, corporate laws, banking, franchising, hospitality, and real estate. As an offshoot of her main field of specialization, foreign investment in India, Ms. Mehta has also covered the area of franchising, which is fast growing. She has represented several world-renowned brands on franchising, was on the editorial advisor board of the International Journal of Franchising Law of several years and has made contribution to the journal and other publication. She has served on the Executive Council of Franchisee Association of India and was chairing its legal committee. Ms. Mehta has over the past several years been recognized as one of the leading lawyers in India for mergers and acquisition and franchising by Who's Who International. She has also been recognized as a leading lawyer of corporate and M&A by Chambers and Partners and is included in India Business Law Journal's a list of the top 100 lawyers in India. Ms. Mehta has been serving as an independent director on various company boards. Apart from being a committed Rotarian since 2004, she enjoys traveling to different destinations and reading fiction. Ms. Mehta has just completed her terms as the president of Rotary Club of Bombay, the premier Rotary Club of India. A warm welcome to you on our today's speaker series, ma'am.
Thank you, Kalpana. Thank you for the warm welcome and the very kind words of introduction.
Ma'am, it's our most pleasure to have you here with us today. So in today's discussion, we are going to discuss about your journey as a corporate lawyer and as a Rotarian. So let's begin the session and I'm so excited. What made you become a lawyer? The very first question.
So actually what happened was that in my early days, I was very interested in history, Hindi literature, and mathematics. In fact, when I did my BA, I took up history and Hindi at St. Xavier's College as my BA subjects. However, my father, Mr. D.M. Popat, he was an eminent solicitor and a first-generation lawyer in the family. And he was very keen that every child in our family should become a lawyer. So even before my graduation results for BA were announced, he sent me the admission form to the Government Law College and all the law books for the first year LLB.
Oh.
So I couldn't disappoint him and I had to just go ahead. But once having started, I began enjoying law, and then there was just no turning back. I did my LLB from Government Law College, Mumbai, and then my solicitor's examinations from both Mumbai and England. Then I did my articleship, and during those days where I trained with my father and his partners at Mullah and Craigie Blunt in Cairo. And after passing my solicitor's examinations, both Mumbai and England, I joined the law firm of Kanga and Company. And here I am today.
Wonderful. So, Ms. Mehta, you have advised various clients, including large corporates, houses, multinational companies, private equity investors, and banks in matters relating to the joint ventures, corporate laws, mergers and takeovers, foreign collaboration, venture capital, private equity, investment, banking, particularly complex banking documentation. Tell us about this journey in this last over 3 decades. Wow.
My career started by joining, as I mentioned, the esteemed firm of Kanga and Company as an associate. I joined on 1st August 1987. I still remember the date. I was soon elevated as partner in January 1991. During this period, I worked on all types of matters, Kalpana, real estate, corporate, banking, etc. And I had already undergone training with my father in litigation and arbitration. So having worked in all practice areas, my desire was to specialize in corporate law and particularly M&A and joint ventures, which I like the most. I was also fortunate to have been given the opportunity to handle transactions independently right from those very early days. There have been a plethora of joint ventures and M&A transactions that I've handled in the last 30 years. I represented several Indian foreign clients in such deals. Also, I did complex banking documentation. Then came the IT boom around 2000. And there was a surge of private equity investment in the IT sector. At that time, I was approached by Intel for representing them for the investments in companies in the western and southern regions of India. And these transactions were just far too many and very exciting. This later led to other private equity investments in sectors varying from food, hospitality, transport, petroleum, and later on to real estate too. Each transaction had its peculiar nuances and challenges based on industry requirements or other issues relating to the promoters. Along with this, even the M&A activity was on the rise, and I was fortunate to have driven some major deals, which in fact were reported on page 1 of most business newspapers. So I have been pretty lucky in these 30 years to have been doing so much of work. Then also in 2000, another opportunity which came to me, and I got a chance to expand my horizon and get some insight and learning of a new field, which is franchising. I underwent a special course at the Middlesex University in UK, and I was one of the first lawyers in India to specialize in practice in this area. It has been my privilege and pleasure to have represented some of the reputed international brands who have franchised in India in sectors as pizzas, clothes and apparels, coffee, education, car rental, etc. As we speak now, even during this pandemic and lockdown situation, I'm handling some domestic and international joint ventures and M&A transactions. I expect these to be on the rise in our country in the near future, given the way our economy seems to be a little better than other parts of the world. Looks like we are expected to have more investment, and let us hope that Mr. Modi's dream comes true. I also, as you mentioned in my introduction, I have the privilege of being an independent director on many companies. Yes, Kalpana, I finished your. Yeah,
I thought you were looking for something. All
no,
right.
no, 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 no. I was wondering why you would stop.
Ma'am, you have tapped almost all industry. There's nothing you have left. So, what inspires you and motivates you to do so much? I am sure we have so much to learn from you.
I would say motivation is the work itself. I'm a workaholic, and the more I do, the more I feel like doing.
Okay.
And every matter that I do has some new angle, something new to learn, something new to experience, and just it's just that my passion, my love for the work, and therefore I think that is motivation.
And what made you join the Rotary?
So many friends had suggested that I must join Rotary, and this was way back about more than 20 years back, 25 years back. I also listened to them and attended some of their club's meetings as a guest and tried to learn and understand about what their activities are. However, at that time, I was not sure if I would be able to devote enough time given my long and unusual working hours.
Hmm.
Then, after some years, at that time, I professionally knew Rotarian Ajay Kanoria, who is our past president of our club as well, and he's a very good friend now. And he asked me to attend a few meetings of our club,
Hmm.
which is the Rotary Club of Bombay, to once again consider becoming a Rotarian.
Hmm.
I attended those meetings as also interacted with members to understand the social work aspect, because always whatever I feel that whatever you need to do, you need to be serious about it.
Absolutely.
E- Even at that time, I used to keep long, very long working hours. But at the same time, there was a very strong desire to do something, to give back to the society.
Hmm.
And then I thought, if once again I think that, oh, I don't have time,
Hmm.
then what? So I thought, if not now, then when?
Hmm.
I also felt that here is an organization where I can actually contribute along with other like minded people, as
Hmm.
also meet new people from different walks of life and make new friends.
Hmm.
I was invited to join the club after completing our stringent formalities of interviews and to understand whether I'm serious. And I joined in 2004. And since then, I can say, Kalpana, that I'm one happy Rotarian and proud to be part of the Rotary Club of Bombay.
I'm sure, ma'am, and I should also admit this. You have so many fans and followers of Rotary. The moment I posted this thing, I'm flooded with messages and which we also spoke and mails as well that we want to attend. But unfortunately, I couldn't give them the Zoom link, and they are there with us on Facebook Live. Well, so you just completed 1 year term as the president of the Rotary Club of Bombay, the premier Rotary Club of India. How was the journey and what initiatives were taken during this term?
So, first, before I talk about my term, let me say a few words about my journey as a Rotarian, having joined the Rotary Club of Bombay, which is a 91-year-old club, one of the oldest and largest of the Rotary clubs in India. When I joined, I also immediately joined the committees of my interest.
Hmm.
Working for senior citizens and children gives me utmost joy and pleasure.
Mhm.
Our club contributes substantially to community by supporting a number of educational, medical, environmental, and vocational activities that impact the lives of thousands of underprivileged and disadvantaged people in and around Mumbai. But every rupee that our club collects and spends actually reaches the beneficiary multiplied several fold as it leverages, in addition to the money that is being collected, the value of time spent by the Rotarians and their partners in actual service. In the last year, while continuing and enhancing all our existing projects, we have more than 40 projects, we implemented some new projects for integrated rural development,
Hmm.
which enabled providing solar power, lighting, water for irrigation and domestic use, clean drinking water, education, agriculture support, etc., in villages which did not have any of this. And this directly impacted about 2,000 lives, making the villagers self-sufficient and also helped prevent migration, thus taking care of at least 3 generations of these villagers and their villages. During the last few months, unfortunately, because of the COVID, our efforts were focused only on COVID relief work, which involved distribution of food and grain, providing medical equipment to hospitals, installation of hand wash stations, and in fact, we provided a mental health helpline, which we did in partnership with another organization. I would say that it was a very, very hectic year, given that I had to balance my professional life and Rotary duties. However, it was very satisfying, and this kind of work I feel helps one to evolve and grow in life, and we should all be trying to do this sometime in our life.
Wow, such a noble cause and such a noble thought, ma'am. You're doing some incredible work, and I'm sure you will continue to do more work in terms of education, village transformation, and everything what you have been doing it.
Of course, it doesn't end. But with my presidentship, the work doesn't end. We just continue. I'm very happy to support my new president and also the incoming presidents going forward. So that's something which I enjoy.
Absolutely, ma'am. So, ma'am, what is the difference between corporate and commercial business law?
So actually, business law governs the world of commerce. We call all statutes and rules as business law, commercial law, which govern all dealings of businesses and conduct of people associated with such businesses. Now, corporate law is part of business law. So in India, we have some business laws followed, which are from pre-independence era. However, newer laws are always being passed, and as time requires, with the change in way business is done, etc. So we have some of the old statutes which form part of the business law are the Indian Contract Act, which is 1872, Sale of Goods Act 1930, Negotiable Instruments Act 1881, Indian Partnership Act 1932. Then we have some of the recent ones, which is the Limited Liability Partnership 2008, the Companies Act, which got amended in 2013. And we have other laws which are relevant based on nature of the business or transactions. For example, I would say Information Technology Act for e-commerce. Then we have labor laws which apply to every industry which has labor and issues around that. Then we have the Consumer Protection Act, which mandates consumer dispute redressal forums and local and national levels. And this is now recently amended by the new Consumer Protection Act 2019. Of course, Standards and Weights and Measures Act, Banking Regulation Act, Foreign Trade Development and Regulation Act, then Foreign Exchange Management Act and the rules. These are some of the major important ones in business law. So while most of the above, I would say, except Companies Act, would apply to all types of business entities. For example, partnership firms, a proprietary concern, even individuals doing business who are conducting business. Companies Act would apply only to companies. And corporate law would also include other laws which are relevant specifically to companies. For example, the Securities and Exchange Board of India Act and its rules and regulations. And this would apply only to listed companies. So this is the overview of the business law and the company law, corporate law, as I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, I'm sure our students who are aspiring to be lawyers right now would really love to know that. So that's a wonderful answer to the question. So going next forward, what are the legal risks of a joint venture or a merge? You have been doing a lot of franchisee mergers nationally and internationally both.
Right. So joint venture is like a marriage where two parties are actually collaborating to work together for a business. As such, the parties come together, they pool in their resources, which may be financial expertise or skills, experience, and possibly also assets. The legal risk in a joint venture would be, so before marriage, there are promises, and whether there is performance as per the promises. So it's promises versus performance, which will decide whether the relationship will be amicable or will there be conflicts going forward. What one needs to take care of are how you agree on terms, and therefore there has to be clarity, and any lack of clarity leads to issues and conflicts. Lack of clarity also regarding obligations and responsibilities of each partners. A clash in the management styles and techniques of different partners leading to frequent conflict. So these are some of the major risk areas. And of course, when there is a conflict and parties have to separate, most often than not, the exit of the party, one of the parties, is very, very difficult, leading to unnecessary litigation or arbitration, whatever is the method agreed. On the other hand, in case of a merger, the main risk would be synergies, because merger, what really essentially means that one company is getting merged into another. Now, the legal risk here would be which a transfer a company already has. So the company which is getting merged has certain risks like liabilities, labor law issues, litigations, regulatory non-compliances, or a combination of these, and all these would pass on to the transferee company.
Yes, ma'am, I completely agree with you. These are some vital information we must know. Ma'am, going further, what has been the most interesting case of matter you have handled as a corporate lawyer?
Oh, that's a difficult one. It's 30 years and there have been several interesting matters. And, or I would say, as in some of the transactions, there have been interesting aspects. Some, of course, have been more exciting than others, and not always due to the size of those transactions. So it's not in terms of whether they're 1,000 crores or 2,000 crores, but each one has its nuances. And therefore, let me just recall a few of them. So there was one matter which I started in my very early days when I was a young lawyer, and this was a matter where I was representing the Indian party with regard to a foreign technology collaboration with her MNC, it's multinational company, and that was already existing. The collaboration was already existing, and the parties were having some differences, and they planned for separation. So while we were finalizing the separation agreement, somehow the principals had a rethinking, and the document was dropped, and instead they renegotiated, and we started with negotiations and documentation for a fresh joint venture. So it was very interesting to see how suddenly from a dispute situation we come into a kind of a marriage situation. Wow. And this was followed by various ancillary agreements, a joint venture agreement and the ancillary, which all were executed over a few years. This, of course, entailed a lot of traveling domestically and internationally, which was, at that time, I found it exciting because I was very young. Right. And of course, I traveled a lot to Europe. I was almost living out of my suitcase. The joint venture, in fact, did well and lasted for many years. However, after a span of several years of successful business, the parties then again went into a dispute situation, which was rather unfortunate. And eventually, the matter had to be referred to arbitration. Of course, my client succeeded at the interim stage, and finally, the matter had to be settled between the parties. Then there was another transaction where I represented a foreign private equity investor who was acquiring a food chain. Oh. Now, the promoter group comprised of several family members, about 25 or so were in the family, originally belonging to one joint family, then of course, with the branches and all that. So we soon realized that there were groups and subgroups within the family, and disputes amongst them existed. The height was that they did not want to meet or be at the same place even for the transaction discussions. Oh my God. And they didn't want to appoint any one representative. So we had to do the entire negotiation with which my clients did, of course, with each group separately. Oh. Not only this, at the time of signing also, they did not want to assemble together. They didn't want to see each other's face. And therefore, the signing, which would normally take a few hours, took 2 full days. as the documents had to be taken to each one's residence for execution. So, which was a very funny thing which I saw, but these are the things which exist in India. One more matter I can think of for a similar situation where the cousins were selling their company to a multinational. Again, there were disputes between the cousin, which complicated the matter. The matter got, I would say, despite that, it was nice of the MNC to take a pragmatic view. Probably they were also interested in acquiring that company. And there was substantial progress in the matter, at which time one of the sons filed some proceedings in court, and this further led to a complication. But however, we were fortunate, finally we managed to resolve the differences within the family and we successfully completed the transaction. One more case which I would recall is acquisition which involved parties or advisors in multiple jurisdictions. So there was people in USA, London, Mauritius, Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, and India. We were working very long hours for several months. Eventually, until the closing, most of the people involved had not seen the others, as all the discussions were over conference calls and emails. Parties signed documents also electronically. And then the handover took place in India at our office. Of course, those were the days we didn't have video conferencing. We had teleconferencing, but not video conferencing. Similar thing happened in another matter where I was representing a foreign investor, and this was 100% takeover of two companies in India. And this required some urgent personal meeting with the solicitor on the other side who was representing the Indian promoters. Now, as this gentleman, a very senior solicitor, he was not in India and he was not expected to return for some days, and the matter could not, in fact, wait that long. I had to travel to New York just to have a 3 to 4 hours meeting. So, in fact, I spent less time in New York and more time in travel. But again, as I said, because we didn't have video conference facilities, this had to be done. In that sense, I would say that Zoom, BlueJeans, Microsoft Teams, and the like have made our life easy. And these are the tools which I and most of us are dependent on for our work. Even as I'm speaking, I'm getting from one Zoom to another. Presently, I'm with you on a Zoom. Before that was with one client, and after that with another client. So that's life now.
I'm sure, ma'am, there must be a lot of challenges to deal with many such cases when you're saying that families are not ready to even see each other and stand by each other.
Yeah, so that is what I've seen a phenomenon in India. I don't think, sorry, I thought you completed.
Yeah, sorry. What are those challenges and how do you cope up with that?
So I have actually, I don't know whether I am a magnet for attracting matters which have these family disputes or whatever it is. But what I have seen is that ultimately, see, one thing is people want things settled, but it's the ego which prevents them. And therefore, there has to be somebody who can help. Sometimes it could be me, sometimes it could be a family friend. So to mediate and to get the dispute resolved. I have seen that these issues are happening more often, not only within the family, but also between parties. And going forward, as I see, mediation would be the right way. In fact, our country is at a very nascent stage in terms of mediation. That's a practice area which needs to be looked at more seriously because it has multiple benefits. It saves costs. It's a win-win situation for parties, and the parties themselves are. So there's a professional technique involved around this, and not just doing it haphazardly. And it will reduce the burden of costs. So I think that's the way forward.
Absolutely. And what are your few best learning as a lawyer?
Oh, I would say that one has to be very professional, conscious of time and commitments, because clients are always very think they want everything urgent. Um, they want everything yesterday. In fact, we have a motto in our firm, which is everything is urgent unless said very urgent, and we all follow that. And to be successful, I would say one quality is that we need to anticipate things. What is it that the other side may think or do? As also, what else would you or your client means what you or your client needs to do without waiting for the last minute and to prepare in advance. So be able to put in long working hours is also important. Time management, multitasking, all these things, because in India we are lawyers are doing more than one matters at a time. They have to multitask and they have to be good at it. It is also necessary to be detailed, meticulous, systematic, and strive for top quality and perfection. And I believe at the end of it, the client must get more than what he pays for. So we have to have these qualities and we have to keep improving on those at all times.
Rightly said, ma'am. I believe we need more talented lawyers like you to look up to. Indeed, a wonderful and insightful session we had. Now, moving to a quick rapid fire. So, who inspires you the most?
If you say rapid fire, I can't do one word answers for anything. I'm not used to it. I'm a lawyer, so I will say a few more words. So since childhood, I always admired my father, C.M. Popat. I mentioned to you about that earlier. And he was one of the leading lawyers in India. And I was very deeply influenced by his qualities as a lawyer, the way he strategized matters, the way he anticipated. He also worked very hard, had very long working hours. So he was my idol. Then my uncle, Mr. M.L. Bhakta, who also is a very eminent and leading lawyer in India. And he's like my father to me. He has mentored and guided me. He's my senior partner in Kanga and Company, and he has given me all the opportunity, and hopefully I've lived up to his expectations.
Wow.
On a personal front, I would say that I admired my mother.
Okay.
She had a very large heart and would go out of her way to help others, and probably that is where that uh, feeling of service and giving to others probably, and that was true even with my father. He used to do the same, but yes, my mother had those real qualities. And finally, my other uncle, Mr. K.B. Thakkar, he was an eminent and self-made businessman. He is a follower of Mahatma Gandhi, and what I am impressed with him, his simple living, down to earth and caring nature, his philanthropic activities, all these have touched me.
All right, ma'am. I should also admit that you are also very loving, very caring, and your humility is so endearing, ma'am. I just spoke to you and you were like, okay, Kalpana. So that really warms my heart. Well, and ma'am, I would, before going to my next rapid fire question, I would want to understand, you're talking about long working hours. You're traveling so much abroad. Being a woman, how do you manage home, husband, work, travel, everything?
So the secret to that is a gentleman who's sitting in this room. He's a very supportive and loving husband. He is.
Can you tell us hi?
Sorry?
Can you tell us hi from here?
Gautam, can you say hi? On the media, I think. I don't know. I can't do it. Okay. So he has to come. Okay. So he says hi to everyone. So.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, sir. Thank you so much.
So he has been very supportive. Whether you say fortunately or unfortunately, I don't have children, so I don't have that responsibility. I never had. And my parents were encouraging. So it's basically with a supportive and encouraging family, you get to do what you want. And yes, and with the passion, it just makes you do it. You just don't want to stop.
I'm sure. Wonderful. So thank you to sir for supporting, because we need more men like him who can, support their wife.
He's himself a counsel. He's a lawyer too. He's a counsel. and he's got a busy schedule himself. So probably that's one way to get me out of the way from him, allow me to do what I want.
So that's the trick.
Possibly, I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So what is the greatest risk you have ever taken?
Risk, I think I move away from the profession. I've talked a lot about that. So I think the greatest risk would be, I think, when I went onto a roller coaster for a ride without actually realizing what it would be like. So it was very frightening, but it was thrilling, and it has had its ups and downs. And of course, such is life too, with all its ups and downs. So I think that was the risk I took. I will never do it again.
And what is the most memorable moment of your life?
Oh, that I can't forget. When I qualified as a solicitor from Mumbai, my father suggested that I also qualify in England. And the same day, I happened to be traveling, and how he arranged everything to ensure that I stay back there. I was actually traveling for a short holiday after my exams. So, and he ensured that I just go there, enrolled. I was hesitant because I'm just too attached to family and don't like to stay away from them. And then he just managed to push me into it, and seeing my parents and family happy and proud made me happy too. So that was one moment I can never forget.
Wow. You have your parents supporting you, you have your husband supporting you. This is so empowering.
Yeah, I mean, I've got God's grace, that I have everything that I want.
Absolutely. All right. So if you could change one thing about your life, what would it be?
That is a very easy question. My height. So I wish I wish I was a few inches taller. Otherwise, of course, as I said, with the grace of the Almighty, I've had a blessed life so far. The only thing, maybe, I should have been a few inches taller. That's all.
But ma'am, I should tell you this thing. All small packs come with great gifts. Hence, you are fortunate to have blessings from everywhere, and you are still fortunate.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So, do you have any hobbies?
Hobbies, yes. I read. I love to travel. I love to listen to old Hindi songs and ghazals, and I enjoy painting, which I'm doing very little these days.
You paint as well, ma'am?
I tried to, I don't know. So as in my young days, I wanted to get into art also, but everything just took me to law, and I got pushed into it, but I enjoyed it, and I'm happy that I got pushed into it. Parents always know what is better for you in life. So I've been out of touch with painting, but on and off, I do try to do something.
Oh, how wonderful. And ma'am, a very last question. If you were to be the Prime Minister for a day, what is the one thing you would change? The first thing you would change, sorry.
So your question is, if I were to the PM for a day, but Kalpana, my initials are already PM, Preeti Mehta. So am I not already PM? Anyway, this is how my friends. So whenever anybody talks about Prime Minister, I think of this because my friends call me PM jokingly.
Oh.
But on a serious note, your question actually reminds me of that movie Nayak, the real hero. I don't know whether you had seen it, where Anil Kapoor accepts a challenge by the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Amrish Puri, to run the state for one day. And he actually makes a success of it. But in the bargain, he gets embroiled in political intrigue. Now, I'm not equating our PM with the CM in that movie. It is quite actually to the contrary. Yes. I'm an admirer of the present PM, Shri Narendra Modi, and I consider him to be the kind of leader which our country presently needs. But coming back to your question, I would say I would rather that we all think about what we are required to do as citizens of India and make our country a better and a greater place as citizens. A PM is there to lead us and show the direction. But then eventually it is really each one of us who has to put in our best. So I cannot think of any one thing that can innately change or do things, but it has to be an ongoing effort by each and every one of us. I always believe our nation is first and also its citizens. So we have to have that feeling of pride towards our nations and to always look at our citizens with that kind of belonging. And I'm sure if that is the attitude that people take, there can be nothing to stop our country from being one of the greatest places in the world.
Very well said, ma'am. Be the change you wish to see.
Yes,
Yes.
that's right.
And a message for a social tables?
Be happy, be strong in this situation. I'm sure we will come out stronger with all the adversities we are facing. I feel, of course, anybody wants to reach out to me for anything, please do contact me through Kalpana. And Kalpana, that applies to you also. Would love to be in touch, and that's about it.
Yeah. All right. Very well. Thank you so much, ma'am. That was an amazing response. And a few word of wisdom or an advice you would like to give to our audience.
I I would say that we have to be always introspecting. We have to be true to ourselves. We have to try our best in every field. There is nothing that cannot be achieved. I believe a lot in positivity. I I am slightly spiritual bent of mind. I think we need to take care of our physical health as also our emotional health, and we have to be always there for others too, as and when people need, because that's connecting with each other is what makes the world. Uh, Character is very important. We see a lot of things happening in our country which is because of lack of character and value system going down, and I would urge that, wherever we can try to improve those standards, we all should be doing that, so that's one thing, because I believe value system is really very important for any country.
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely. Totally agree with you. And any message for our platform, social tables?
You're doing a wonderful job, Kalpana. You persisted. I was trying to, but you were very, very
Yes.
persistent, and I'm glad I accepted it. Sorry, I was a little late in accepting it because I was a little tied up with the last month
You,
of my Rotary year and things happening all together. But I'm glad we met up and we spoke several times, and it's been quite a pleasure. And when I went through all the flyers and the speakers you have, the really commendable work. You are having a lot of people on your platform who can share their experiences and their views with the audience. And going forward, please do keep me informed so I can also uh, connect on the Facebook and look at all and listen to other speakers.
definitely, ma'am. Thank you so much. Social Tables is a platform where we come here, learn from your own experience. It is like not every time you have to experience everything in life, and life is too short. COVID-19 have also shown to us. But yes, having people like you, it's a leadership talk basically. When leaders talk, people listen and they want to, change and the techniques, the tools, what you share, it really helps us a lot. So thank you so much, ma'am. Now let me give you a vote of thanks. That's it for today. Thank you so much. Let me take an opportunity to give you a vote of thanks. It's a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks to Ms. Preeti, who despite a busy schedule has found time to grace this special interaction. We are extremely grateful to you for sharing your words of wisdom and encouragement and giving us valuable inputs. Your eminent presence has indeed made this interaction a memorable one, and we united to thank you from the bottom of our heart for your kindness, interest, and support. We wish you all the very best for your future endeavors. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Kalpana. Thank you so much.
Take good care of your health.
Yeah, you too. And wish you all the best, and wish Social Tables also all the best.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Take care.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.